I think I was mostly just excited. I don't remember feeling nervous. I was truly satisfied with what I had put together.
Sound check. Check one, check two.
Can we unpack that word that you just used a little before called satisfied? Because it's a word that I often use with my students when they're preparing for a performance. Sometimes they're about to perform for the very first time. Often my encouragement to students is, first and foremost, I want you to step away with a sense of satisfaction. For you, what did that word satisfaction, come to mean for you in the releasing of the project?
I felt like my voice sounded the way I envisioned it sounding. Not that there wasn't some working through that during the recording process, which always happens. We hear ourselves and we're like, oh, that's not quite what I thought that was going to sound like. Okay, let me adjust my expectation while I also work toward making the sound be what I want it to be. But in the end, my voice I was satisfied. I was like, yep, that's a great compromise between what I wanted, what has come out. It wasn't a satisfaction that came from just like accepting whatever. It certainly was a hard-won satisfaction, I would say. There was a lot of work going into it, while also doing some accepting of reality if what I had up here in reality just were not actually going to work themselves out. So it's an interesting sort of dance until you come to this place where it just feels like it kind of balances out and settles.
You just used another two terms, which I think are so insightful for us into your process. And they're two terms that we don't often hear associated with music music making or creative process of any description. And that is, you said you adjusted your expectations and you were able to compromise. And I love how those two terms are the antithesis. Is that the right way of saying it? They are not synergetic with perfection. Yeah, and I love that.
Well, April Fool is maybe the most specific example of having to make a compromise, because the way I wanted it to be, there's this descending line in the chorus. So that line, the way I was singing it with that microphone, and the microphone we had was amazing, and I loved the sound. There was this little like register blip that was just not smoothing out quite the way I wanted it to. And I tried it several different ways with some different techniques, different vowels, different, let's start more chesty, let's start more heady, let's, how can I get this where I want it to be? And it took some doing until I was like, okay, what I actually want is, what gets the sound I want is if I sing this sort of light and heady all the way down, but then I'm going to quadruple it so that it has like a vastness to it. So I still got the sound I wanted in the long run. Like I got the effect I wanted in the long run, but we did not get there the way I thought we were going to get there. Because I had to do a very different vocal thing than I expected to in the studio. But I was very happy with the product, but it took a second to figure out. And I will admit, in the moment, I'm like, no, like I know this is going to be sort of the big single. And if I can't get this vocally the way I want on this microphone, what am I gonna do? And this stuff that's going inside. And I'm like, okay, let me try again. Let me try this. Let me try that. Had to take a couple little breaks, sort of think about it a little further.
Yeah.
Come in, try it again. So, it's a messy process. It's not this perfectly planned out thing, and not without some difficult feelings at times until you land on the thing that feels like, okay, all right, yes, now I'm getting what I wanted, but that's not how I thought I was going to get there, or necessarily exactly what I thought it was going to look like when we started down the road.
What have you found, in that compromise, in that, adjusted expectations? Have you found similar levels of vulnerability?
Yeah. I think it's a very vulnerable process to hear the reality of what you expected. I think a lot of us, to our credit, as hard as we can be on ourselves, we also have the capacity to imagine a really great version of what we can do. And then when the reality is there and we go, oh, that is not what I thought I was doing, or not quite what I imagined myself being capable of. And that is definitely a vulnerable moment.